After announcing the ceasefire this week in the conflict with Iran, President Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have both declared that the U.S. is the one that has emerged victorious. This week, when the president declared that the U.S. would suspend bombing Iran for 2 weeks' time to allow for these negotiations that will start this weekend, he said the U.S. has already met and exceeded all military objectives. Secretary Hegseth was similarly triumphant, saying during an April 8th press conference that, quote, Operation Epic Fury was a historic and overwhelming victory on the battlefield, a capital V military victory, saying Epic Fury has decimated Iran's military and rendered it combat ineffective for years to come. Direct words there from the defense secretary. Now, our partners at PolitiFact have looked at whether President Trump and Secretary Hegseth's declarations of victory are supported by the facts as we're seeing them right now. So PolitiFact's chief correspondent Lou Jacobson joining us once again. Lou, it's great to see you as always. Let's begin here with the areas where the U.S. can confidently claim some victories in this military conflict.
Yeah, so there definitely have been some tactical successes. U.S. officials have said that more than 13,000 targets were struck before the ceasefire began. More than 90% of the regular naval fleet was sunk. About 90% of the weapons building factories were destroyed. And so were about 80% of the air defense systems. Military experts said the setbacks to the Iranian supplies of drones, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and launchers will take years to rebuild. And of course, the attacks also killed many top government officials and military officials, including the supreme leader.
Now, of course, this is still very much in flux. We have this 2-week pause, at least right now. The ceasefire seems to be holding as these discussions begin in Pakistan. But have there been downsides for the U.S. specifically? I know we've been watching oil a lot.
Yeah, so a big setback is the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz, a blockage that seems still to be mostly in place despite the ceasefire. And this is a much worse situation for the world and for the U.S. than it was before the war started. It's a big form of leverage that they didn't have access to before, and which does affect trade for close to every country.
Now, how about when it comes to resolution of what we've been hearing about when it comes to Iran from U.S. leaders, especially in those early days of this conflict and back last summer as well, about Iran's nuclear materials? Do we have any resolution there?
No, I mean, even though it was one of the biggest justifications for the war in the first place, really, we are no further along to getting control of or taking away those sorts of nuclear materials.
And so, Lou, when you looked at all of this and you really looked at the facts, are there other strategic setbacks that the U.S. is facing because of what's happening right now in Iran?
Yeah, we did. We found several. So one is that the killings of the top leadership could actually be creating a more radical regime. In addition, the war has also strained the ties between the U.S. and its NATO allies. One of our key strategic rivals, Russia, could benefit from the West's attention being taken away from the Ukraine war, and Russia could also temporarily get better prices for its crude oil. And finally, the counterattacks against U.S. allies in the region, including the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, and Kuwait, have caused physical damage to their industrial sector, which serves the world. And the attacks on those countries may drive other countries to give greater thought to whether they should really be serving as hosts for the U.S. military, because countries hosting the U.S. And its troops are now becoming targets in wars that they don't control the destiny of.
And of course, the outcome of all of this still unknown. We'll be watching those discussions happening in Pakistan this weekend. We know the vice president is there, and we'll see what comes from those. Lou Jacobson, thanks so much for your time today and your expertise.
Great, thank you.